Today, the Premier all but admitted that he will be rolling back Alberta's minimum wage. Let that sink in. At a time when Albertans are being faced with the greatest economic challenge in a generation, at a time when nearly 500,000 Albertans are unemployed or working reduced hours, at a time when families are scraping to make ends meet, particularly low-income families, this Premier is piling on. His plan is to keep handing over billions and billions of dollars to large, profitable corporations and to cut wages for the lowest earners. That's not a fair deal. That's a cruel deal. Now, as for the report that was released today, it is, frankly, nothing more than a distraction technique, and a cynical one at that. A way to deflect from the pain this government has caused to everyday families because of this Premier's failed economic plan. Albertans are worried about jobs, our province's economic future, and the security of their families. The report released today does nothing to address those real and urgent priorities. Much of what is contained here is not within this government's authority or jurisdiction. Now, to be clear, there are real challenges facing Alberta within the Constitution, but nothing in this report offers any way to fix them. In fact, the closest that anyone in Alberta has ever come to being able to fix these long-standing problems was actually when Jason Kenney and the Conservatives were in Ottawa and chose to do nothing about the problems. Now, of the matters that are currently within the Premier's authority, like pensions, this report is a harbinger of higher costs, lower returns, and it threatens the security of every Albertan hoping to retire comfortably after a lifetime of hard work. Let me be clear, the last thing Albertans want is this Premier's hands anywhere near their retirement savings. Albertans are focused right now on finding work, on getting their kids through school, on finding a way to pay for spiraling university costs. They're focused on caring for their loved ones and making sure that they get the best our healthcare system has to offer. The last thing that they want is to be forced into a desperate referendum campaign in order to save their retirement from this Premier. As for the rest of it, well, this report is largely irrelevant. It does nothing to build a more diversified and stronger economy. It does nothing to get Albertans back to work. In fact, it does nothing to create fairness for Albertans. If the Premier was interested in creating fairness for Albertans, he would have committed to me today that he will not roll back the minimum wage. He would ensure that Albertans working on the front lines have access to paid sick leave. He would provide cash support for the struggling small businesses instead of loading them up with more debt. He would rehire the educational staff, the 20,000 educational staff he fired as they were struggling to support the special needs kids and their learning at the height of the pandemic. If the Premier, Jason Kenney, were interested in fairness, he would commit to providing disaster relief to the tens of thousands of residents in Calgary Northeast who are reeling from the aftermath of one of the worst hailstones in this province's history. If he was interested in fairness, he would reverse his $4.7 billion corporate handout to profitable corporations. If he was interested in fairness, he would ask the wealthiest 1% to pay 1% more instead of forcing additional costs on everyday hard-hit Albertans. Fairness would mean reversing the many costs that this government has imposed on so many Albertans, like higher property taxes, higher income taxes, higher school fees, higher insurance rates, to name a few. Fairness would mean ending the attack on doctors throughout this province, and fairness would mean appointing Indigenous, Black, people of color, and other marginalized people, along with women, to agencies, boards, and commissions. Fairness would mean fighting for Albertans so they have the same access to federal initiatives like pharmacare instead of looking for escape routes so that Albertans are left to fend for themselves. Albertans deserve a government that will fight for all of them, not just the UCP's rich friends and insiders. Albertans deserve a government that understands that growing inequality is not a jobs plan. and actually hurts our communities across the province. In short, Albertans deserve good jobs, fair wages, small classrooms, strong healthcare, and a resilient, diversified economy that will take everyone in this province to recovery. In all fairness, Albertans deserve better.